Hey everyone, welcome to this radio video, and this is a quick video to talk about my personal observations of the weekend. Now, this weekend, shortwave was, let's say, below normal with the geomagnetic storms that plagued pretty much all of the weekend. But you know what? What I've heard from a lot of people is there's nothing to listen to. I'm going to shut down. Geomagnetic storms are, just creating some bad radio listening experience and I even seen a few posts people saying, okay, 7, okay, well, I'm not going to turn on the radio, I'm going to do something else. And that's where I you know always think that if that's the way you think, that if you see a K7 or a K6, you're like, I'm going to do something else, you don't really have a full understanding of the shortwave, and you immediately think there's nothing to listen to, and it's not the case at all. You know what? Yesterday evening, for here in Montreal, which is around 03, 0400 hours UTC, I was listening to shortwave, and we were, a couple of guys in the chat room where we were talking about what we were hearing, and you know what? With a K of 6 around 03 yesterday, um, people on the West Coast were hearing Radio New Zealand and Radio Australia really well, on 15240 and 15720 for New Zealand. Also, we were comparing signals, and yeah, it's true. There's a lot of signals that weren't there, and especially the east-west signals, they weren't there. But I started tuning around, and I could hear stuff. And you know what? While I was listening to some interesting stuff yesterday evening, I saw a lot of posts about people saying, well, I'm going to go watch TV. Bands are dead. They weren't as dead as you think. If the bands are dead, you either have too much noise or you just didn't take the time to really listen to the shortwave bands. Remember one thing: when there's auroral activity, when there's geomagnetic storms, yeah, east-west signals tend to be quite bad compared to the usual. I noticed yesterday, for example, the total absence of Radio Romania in the evening, or it was extremely weak. And but I did notice other things. First of all, if there's nothing to listen to on the international broadcast band of your liking, there's the amateur radio bands. Some of them were quite good with local signals. 40 meters was open. I could hear a lot of hams talking. 80 meters was surprising, although the signals were of much closer. So these were people around me. Not very far, a few hundred kilometers. 160 meters was just so incredible. I heard the strongest signals I've ever heard on 1850 lower sideband of local hams in northern New York and Vermont. And that was really, really interesting to see. And so, there's increased propagation on some sides when you have geomagnetic storming. And that people don't understand that capability very often. You know what? When we have that also, another thing that you should note is that very often in geomagnetic storming, we have increased signals from the south or the north, depending on where you live. So I'm in Montreal. I'm already pretty much north in the northern hemisphere. So, of course, most of the signals for me will be from the south. And Cuba was pretty good for me, but I could hear Radio Verdad in Guatemala yesterday on 4055, good enough to listen to the nice music they were playing. Another interesting propagation condition yesterday, when I was looking at the EIBI space schedules, was Voice of America from Sao Tome in Africa. 4960 at 0400 was coming in real well. It was like a S9 plus 10 signal, and that is stronger than usual for me. So that means you see increased propagation from north, south, southeast, southwest directions. And a lot of people, tend to forget that. The West Coast was hearing Australia and New Zealand really well, And all the while of, a little gang that we were on the chat room talking about our catches, I was reading posts everywhere of, oh well, bands are dead, nothing listened to. I'm turning off the radio. Well, I think if you did that, or if you do that when there's geomagnetic storming, you might be missing out actually on a lot of stuff. You're probably not tuning around wide enough. We have a tendency to often go and do the same things all over and over again. Well, you got a radio that has a wide frequency range. Tune everywhere. Yesterday was cool. I 0300 stumbled upon the signal from WTWW 5085. Pretty much everybody in North America would hear it because in the chat room, even the West Coast would hear 5085. Was the QSO radio show. Was kind of interesting, talk about radio and stuff, and was coming in well. It had the flutter of auroral activity, but it was still good. WWCR had a nice old times music show, playing records from the 1920s. That was also very interesting. So I enjoyed one of the beautiful evenings of radio listening, right smack in the middle of a geomagnetic storm, and K index it was 6. Just gives you an idea that you got to tune around everywhere. There's always something there, even in the worst moments. And if you are not hearing your regular listening, why not start tuning around the amateur radio bands? Why not tune around the, utility bands? I think it's surprising what you can hear. And you can't get stuck on just numbers. I see that people rely way too much on numbers and not enough on radio listening, actual real radio listening. I think that's important to understand that. Numbers don't say anything, don't say everything. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, give us thumbs up. Hope you enjoyed this video, and have a good shortwave listening. Let's hope that conditions improve.